Welcome to this explainer. Look, what we're diving into today is a very measured first-person build log. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I used AI to take a bunch of scattered thoughts and turn them into a fully sellable 34-file service offering, literally over a single weekend. This isn't a tutorial, and I am certainly not going to pitch you anything at the end. There is no hype here. It's just a factual, straightforward account of what got made, how it got made, and honestly, most importantly, the things that went wrong. I want you to be able to look at this process and judge for yourself if this approach is worth your own weekend.
To keep things grounded, we're splitting this report into 4 distinct parts. First, the drawer. Second, the 2 days. Third, the 4 failures. And finally, the honest accounting. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The drawer. So picture the situation before I built anything. Before a single file was generated, this entire offer was just sitting unfinished in a figurative drawer. You know exactly what I mean, right? It was exactly like those half-built ideas I'm sure you have lying around. There was this massive gap between what I actually had and what I really needed. I had this offer called Your Success Ecosystem. It had a name, a price tag, and I had a lot of conviction about it. But honestly, it had absolutely no edges. There was no clear definition anyone could quote, no worksheets, no sales page to send out before a discovery call, no actual way to buy it. It was a great idea, sure, but there was almost nothing backing up that price tag. Now, for years, I've taught this core conviction to my clients. They already hold all the pieces they need to succeed. The knowledge, the experience, the habits, it's all there. But because those pieces sit loose, nothing connects and nothing compounds. It's like this giant puzzle box where you can see all the pieces, but you just can't see the picture on the lid. My thinking was totally there, but the execution? Completely stuck in that drawer. Which brings us to part 2, the 2 days. This is where we get into the actual execution and the concrete deliverables. Across July 16th and 17th, 2026, we finally moved from that good idea phase to real tangible deliverables. 34. That is the concrete, no-nonsense result of those 2 days. I built exactly 34 files. We're talking structural frameworks, delivery materials, a full marketing set, a funnel setup, and even a complete launch playbook. And these weren't rough drafts. These were client-ready Word and PDF files, completely branded, formatted, and ready to send. So, you might be wondering, how exactly did we get to that number? Well, it all comes down to one absolutely crucial rule. Write one foundation document first and treat it as binding. Listen, before I allowed a single client-facing word to be drafted by the AI, I wrote one master file that locked down the structural bones. It held the definitions, the elements, the methodology. No marketing copy, no brand voice, just the raw structure. This right here is the entire secret to this method, and honestly, it's the step almost everyone skips. Working from that binding document, we followed a super strict AI sequencing rule. Step 1, define the framework. Step 2, build the delivery materials. And only then, step 3, write the marketing. Doing this backwards is incredibly dangerous. I mean, trying to sell a thing you haven't explicitly defined and can't actually deliver, that is exactly how you end up overpromising to your clients.
Now, to pull off that sequence, I didn't just rely on a single AI. I used a split model approach. I basically pointed 2 completely different AI models at that foundation document to do 2 distinct, frankly, opposing jobs. Model 1, which was Claude Opus, handled the structure. It sequenced the build and drew the hard boundaries. Model 2, Claude Fable, handled the voice.
So why split them up? Because structure and voice are 2 totally different jobs, and they naturally pull against each other. Think about it. A model trying to write warm, engaging, conversational sentences will inevitably start rounding off your hard, structural distinctions. If you give one AI both jobs, it's going to start hallucinating your deliverables. So I gave the voice model extremely strict instructions. Use the facts provided, do not invent new elements, and if something is missing, flag it for me. Don't just make it up. Setting that strict boundary is literally what kept the output usable. Okay, moving into part 3. The 4 failures. Let's talk about what went wrong and why it matters. And make no mistake, these failures, they are the absolute climax of this build log. They're not some minor footnote. If you're going to try this weekend build yourself, this is the part you need to pay the absolute most attention to. There were 4 specific things that broke during this build. 4. I caught 3 of them before they did any damage. But one of them, it is actually still open today. When you look at how this unfolded, a pretty dangerous timeline emerges. The actual build happened on day 1, right? But I didn't catch the first 2 errors until day 4.
That is a massive, terrifying delay between the AI generating the content and a human actually detecting the flaw. If I had onboarded a client on day 2 or 3, they would have literally received compromised materials.
Let's look at the specific casualties. First, there was a nasty divergence between a markdown source file and its styled Word document. If I had just blindly followed the AI's prompt to regenerate that Word doc, it would have silently wiped out all my custom styles and leaked an internal developer note straight to a paying client. Yikes! Second, the AI used a retired product name on a live client document just because that old name happened to be lingering in my historical notes. Third, it bizarrely created 2 separate project folders for the exact same offer, completely hiding the actual files. And fourth, the one that's still open, a retired product name is currently buried in the alt text of a funnel diagram. When you really analyze those errors, you realize they weren't failures of drafting. The AI actually wrote beautifully. What these were consistency failures. I define a consistency failure as the gap between an AI's speed of generating artifacts and its ability to generate agreement between those artifacts. An AI can easily write 48 files in an hour, but making sure a single name change cascades perfectly across all 48 of those files, that is exactly where the system breaks down. This brings us to our final part, the honest accounting. Let's debrief what AI actually did here and summarize the real value of the AI in this operation versus where intense human oversight was absolutely mandatory. Let's look closely at the ledger here. What AI did do, it produced structure incredibly fast, it held a fixed model across dozens of artifacts without drifting off topic, and it maintained a totally consistent voice, which, let's be real, is usually the first thing that falls apart when a human writes over a span of several weeks. But look at what it didn't do. It didn't decide the core 7 elements of my framework. I had to actively argue with the model and make those judgment calls based on my own years of coaching. It didn't notice those duplicate folders, and it didn't catch the retired product names. I had to step in and manually catch every single one of those defects. So here is the true cost of the operation. It wasn't just a simple 2-day build. It was 2 days of intensely concentrated build work, which was about 66% of the effort, plus an absolutely essential, unplanned 3rd day of cleanup and auditing. And listen to me, that audit phase is non-negotiable. If you do a 2-day build and decide to skip that half-day audit, you are going to find your consistency errors while you're sitting live face-to-face with a client. You simply have to budget for that cleanup time. Ultimately, the AI didn't do the thinking for me. The actual thinking had been done over years and years of working with real people. What the AI did was remove the friction, the distance between having thought about it and having it completely finished. The right way to read that 2-day metric is not that AI magically replaced 2 months of work for me. It's simply that the drawer finally got emptied.
Which brings us right back to where we started today. The drawer. Most practitioners watching this right now have one. You've got a framework started, a workbook that's half written, an amazing offer just waiting for its edges. The hard thinking is already done. It's just sitting there unfinished. The tools to clear all of that out in a single weekend exist right now, today, as long as you're willing to lock down your structure and rigorously audit your outputs. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What exactly is sitting in your drawer right now? And what is it costing you to just leave it there?